Hey, what's up guys? So as you know, the Zhongli buffs came out in patch 1.3 as well as the geo changes, and we're going to be covering that in this video talking about Zhongli. Now, I really don't want my video to seem like clickbaity or anything, but Zhongli's legitimately broken. Like, he's such a good support that I really think I should talk about him and basically show you guys why I think he's so good and then talk about how to build him because I think stuff has changed since the last video. So it's going to be a new guide on Zhongli support, and a Zhongli DPS guide should be coming out kind of soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about how to build him and why he's so good, and there are two ways to play him, two ways to build him, and I'm gonna be covering them both and doing a quick showcase and once again telling you why he is so good. I stream most nights on Twitch. If you guys want to follow, that'd be cool. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about in this video are the changes to Zhongli. What changed, what's new, and why I think he's so broken. Why honestly everyone thinks he's so good, because he really is a top tier support now. So basically what they did was they modified a lot of things regarding his E, and they changed like Geo Resonance, made it better and all that. And we'll talk about those changes in a bit, but we're going to start with his elemental skill, which is what really made him, or what makes him so strong. First of all, as a convenience, and something that they should have done from the start, is when you hold E to get a shield, and I'll show you guys this right now, when you hold E to get a shield, you also summon a pillar, which is just convenient. It's nice because before you had to set the pillar, wait 4 seconds, swap, do whatever, and then shield, and now you get both at the same time. But the main thing that makes Zhongli honestly broken is that basically when you hold your E, when you get the shield, not only is the shield stronger, but it also decreases the elemental resistance and physical resistance of opponents by 20%. Something I want to emphasize is that it's physical and elemental resistance, and it's every single elemental resistance. When you look at something like Viridescent Venerer, which is arguably the best 4-piece in the game, it's one of the best 4-pieces, right? Insane for a support character. What it does is it reduces by 40% the elemental resistance of the element infused in a swirl. That's only one element. So while this is a really good set, it is only to one element, and you can't swirl certain elements like Geo or like Anemo. But for Zhongli, it's every single element, including those elements that don't work with Viridescent like Geo and Anemo, and also physical, and it's just insane. Something to note is that while this stacks with Viridescent, they do stack. Usually it's not worth reducing twice the resistance, like it's not worth running both. But anyways, overall, this is just really, really nice. And on top of that, they buffed the shield quite significantly. If you use Zhongli, you'll have noticed that your shield is a lot tankier now. It does give you damage absorption against elemental and physical damage. Also, as you guys can see, you no longer get interrupted when you're making the shield, which is just a nice sort of quality of life update. So before the buff, Zhongli was only really good in like Geo quick swap comps and comps that could give him enough energy recharge for him to be able to spam his ult. But now, he's such a flexible enabler, he's so good at, even if you don't use his ultimate like his burst, just his shield reducing the resistance of enemies is so strong that he can fit in most comps, especially like a Xiao comp, because Viridescent Venerer on a support won't really work with Xiao because you can't reduce, you can't swirl Anemo, but with this, with Zhongli's E, you can reduce the resistance, so it's just a great support for like everyone. On top of that, they added more HP scaling to his abilities, so building HP is more viable, but we're going to be talking about that in the artifact section. Lastly, the Geo Resonance is very powerful. So basically it gives you 15% damage, which is huge, like when you're shielded, which is very, very good. But on top of that, it also decreases enemy Geo Resistance by 20%. For the artifact sets you'd want on Zhongli, not too much has changed. If you're running him as a burst support, 2 Noblesse, 2 Petra is still extremely strong because, well, first of all, the 2 Noblesse set gives you 20% burst damage, and we know that Zhongli's burst not only petrifies, but also does a lot of damage. Another great set on him is the 2-piece Archaic Petra, giving you a 15% geo damage bonus, and it's just really, really strong because this, with 2-piece Noblesse, gives you just a ton of damage. Now keep in mind that there are many ways to play him, and I'm going to talk about that in like 10 seconds in the artifact stats section. But one thing I want to say is that you can actually run 4-piece Petra on him if you do plan on running him as mainly a shield bot where you don't really care about his burst damage that much, or you don't use his burst, or there are a few ways to play him. But basically the 4-piece Petra can give you 35% damage bonus to a particular element if you pick up said crystal on Zhongli and then you swap to the other character. So 4-piece Petra is definitely viable depending on your playstyle. But otherwise, I would generally recommend 2 Petra with 2 Noblesse for a burst support build. Now let's talk about Zhongli's artifact stats, and this is what I've been the most scared to talk about because there are a lot of ways to build them, and a lot of people ask me attacker HP, and so I want to give you guys the most clear answer because there is nuance to it and it does depend on your playstyle. First of all, if you plan on running him as a burst support, let's say in a Geo quick swap team or somewhere where you want him to be spamming his ult and do damage, and yes, the shield can be nice and you're using it for the resistance shred, but you want him to deal damage, in that case, attack percent on the sands is more damage than HP for the ult. So in terms of pure damage, you do get more from attack percent than HP for your ult. So if you plan on running him as a burst support, you would run attack on sands, geo damage on the goblet, and crit on the circlet, rate or damage. And you'd look for stuff like that on the substats, so crit, attack percent can be nice, and energy recharge. And HP as a substat is also, good. Now, as I said, there are many ways to play him. If you are running him as a shield bot, you want a really strong shield and you're spamming it to reduce resistances, right? What you'd want is definitely an HP percent on your sands. And then if you still plan on spamming his burst, the rest wouldn't really change. You'd go geo damage with crit. But if you plan on not using his burst and running him as a pure like shield bot support, where you don't want to take like the 4-second animation or whatever it is to do that meteor, although personally I do use it, you can run HP on literally everything, like HP sands, HP goblet, and HP circlet, if you're running him as a pure shield build where you're not using your burst. However, I love running him as a burst support, so that's what I use and what I'm going to be showing you guys, but I do want you to know that there are many ways to play. Overall though, for a general build, I would recommend crit on the circlet, geo on the goblet. That doesn't really change. And then your sands can either be attack or HP. So yeah, basically the main debate is on your sands if you want attack or HP. And both of them can work, but for just damage, attack is better. However, HP does still give you a decent amount of damage while making your shield stronger. So it's really, I'd say it depends on whichever one you have that has better substats or the playstyle you're going for. Now let's talk about Zhongli's weapons. So first of all, I just want to say this is for a support Zhongli, and as I mentioned in the intro, we'll do physical DPS later, which is like why I'm not really going to be talking about Pyke, right? Because it's a good weapon for a DPS build, but not a support build. So for support Zhongli, there are many good options. So for polearm users, all the 5 stars are very good. The primordial Jade Wing Spear gives you a ton of base attack. It has a very high base attack and gives you crit rate, so it's just really good stats. There's also the Vortex Vanquisher, the shield spear, if you will, which is like effectively a stat stick, giving you a bunch of attack, which can be nice. And the Skyward Spine gives you energy recharge, which is appreciated on Zhongli, especially in comps that don't have enough geoparticles for him to spam his burst. Now, obviously, not everyone has 5 stars, but there are some very good 4-star options. First of all, I personally run the Deathmatch on my Zhongli. Deathmatch and Blackcliff Pole are both nice because they give you crit as a substat, Pole gives you damage, and Deathmatch gives you rate. And while the base attack isn't too high, it makes up for it with the high stat and a pretty nice effect, especially on the Deathmatch, giving you 16 to 24% attack bonus at Refinement 1. The best free-to-play option would be the Prototype Star Glitter for the energy recharge, beating Pyke if you're not running him, obviously as a physical DPS. And in terms of like the gacha 4 stars, I'd say Favonius Lance should be the best bet because of the high base attack with energy recharge as a substat, and a very nice effect since you are going to be critting if you're running him as a burst support, making it a nice option. We're going to quickly talk about party comps for Zhongli, and I was honestly not sure if I wanted to make this part of the video because he's just so good now that you can legit run him in most comps. But I'm still going to talk a bit about teams because pretty much Zhongli has a few ways of being played in a team as a support. And so before the buff, his best comp was in a Geo comp, like this one, which is a Geo quick swap, or even without Albedo, something like Ningguang and Zhongli together would be great because Zhongli's like only weakness, or at least his biggest one, is that he doesn't generate particles that fast, so his burst can't be spammed too often unless you have other characters that generate particles, especially another Geo character generating Geo particles for him. So running him with someone like Ningguang or even Albedo, just Zhongli with Albedo or Zhongli with even Geo MC can be good enough to make him spam his burst. And so that is mainly what I did before the buff. To make my Zhongli really good, I would run him with another Geo character so that he could spam his burst. But now, he's so strong, even without his burst, just by spamming his shield, that he can be run as a support in most comps. Especially with someone like Xiao, who I mentioned in my previous video, likes Zhongli because of the resistance shred. It just basically increases his DPS by a ton. And you guys will see in the showcase, whenever I am shielded, I'll just do more damage because of how strong Zhongli is. So yeah, new Zhongli pretty much deserves a slot in like any comp. Even if you're running like a Diluc Xingqiu comp, you can still fit Zhongli in there for the res shred. It's just always appreciated. So I think something like this personally would be a super strong team. As an example. So we're going to do a DPS showcase now, but I want you guys to know that this is actually really a weird thing to do for a support character because I'm not going to be mainly DPSing on Zhongli, but I'm going to be showcasing basically his burst doing a ton of damage in, like Geo comps, and I'll run him with like Xiao because his shield just makes Xiao do more damage. So yes, my other characters I'm going to DPS will shine because of Zhongli, but I'll also show like Zhongli doing a lot of damage with his burst because I do run him as a burst support. And we'll probably just do it in a bunch of domains, Abyss floors, whatever. And do note that Abyss 12 does give you a Geo buff, which makes Zhongli even better there. So I hope the guide was helpful. Let's get right into the showcase. So yeah, guys, overall Zhongli is really strong, and I hope this clarified how to build them. If you should go HP or attack, both are viable. It depends how you want to play them, and on your substats and stuff like that. So I really hope this video helped, because there's a lot to cover, and I honestly love Zhongli. I think overall, he is one of the best supports. In my opinion, he's definitely an S tier support, for sure. He's just so strong in so many different comps. He's very versatile, can be a burst support, a shielder, reduces resistances. He just does everything so well. So I love Zhongli, I love the buffs, I think he's insanely powerful. So not much else to say, subscribe if you want to, if you don't that's okay too, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Give me particles! Give me particles! No!